because, you can see we have another sheet of this. If you have the burning need for dry erase in your home, this is $13 at Lowe's. They call it shower board. Don't ever buy dry erase marker or dry erase boards that cost hundreds of dollars. This stuff is perfectly okay, and it will work for months. And then when it doesn't, it was 13 bucks. Throw it away and get another one. So what we were kind of espousing in the program is we have a Monday night drawing class that Trey, who is out of town, he is actually a chalk artist for Whole Foods. If you've seen any of those little boards that they use, he did all those, or he and a couple of people did all those. And so some of this is the work from the Monday night folks. I know it's a little surreal, but we are constantly revising the way that we're managing this front space. We had a yoga class. What day was it? Thursday. We had a yoga class that was meeting here on Thursday as part of our preschool process. But no, I remember the city shut down completely on Thursday for the threat of snow. So this is probably where we're going to do most of our instruction, and it's basically an open area that's for I got a couch, another couch coming, coffee table sort of things. It will be more social than anything else, except for over here where we're probably going to do most of our instruction. I finally got this TV not falling forward. So let me explain maker spaces to you. This is how I can do it. See this thing's supposed to stand up straight, but this solves my problem. And this is the best hack that I've done today. So as a mechanism, that's sort of how we think. You have a thing you want, figure out how to get it. And as you can see, we have a lot of stuff in here. This belongs to Make Birmingham. She's busy upstairs. This actually belongs to Make Birmingham, but they couldn't figure out how to do a certain thing, and so we just basically poured 2 humans, me and another guy, for about 5 hours on it in 3 days, and we got it working. So I know this is not going to sound like much, but this piece is the only thing we've printed really so far. But that actually took us 3 days to do. We have some of these. You know what Portal is? The game Portal. Oh, yeah. So one of the things that in Thingiverse is the companion cube. They started to print, but they got kind of crappy near the end. We think we've solved most of Make Birmingham's problems, and we're hoping that when they take this back, that these will all be taken care of.
Did you print threads on that?
No, it's threaded through. Printing threads that's just off the table. You can do that, but the machinery to print threads is usually the machinery to print metal, which generally costs in the hundreds of thousands of dollars realm. But it's not that you can't print threads; they just suck because this stuff it's fairly brittle. I mean, I probably can't smash it by bumping it, but I can come pretty close. So this belongs to Make Birmingham. This actually belongs to me. But it's going to be here almost all the time. This is a CNC cutter. It's also a plotter. So you can do stuff like let's try this. It's still on. It might not be. The software that they sent for this really sucks. But I will show you the effect. So if you're familiar with a tool that scrapbookers use called Cricut, this is like the grown-up version of a Cricut. And it's this is kind of in the big realm of things that we do. So we want you to be able to do whatever it is that you feel the burning urge to do. And so this is actually just cutting out my name. You probably can't see that on there. But there's a blade in the thing that I just stuck in there, and it's drawing these words out onto that page of vinyl. And when it's finished, it should theoretically I should be able to lift it up and put it on something else. There's there are tons of material like this and stuff. This is about, I think this was like $9 for that roll of vinyl, but you can do transfer correction and print door signage this way. And that seems like it was possibly good. So for the big reveal, this may or may not work. And it didn't cut all the way through. But if you want to, you can see that this has cut my name into this vinyl. I could probably recut this again and get it to go through. I just got this like 3 days ago. So I'm sort of stuck with it right now. But I do a lot of paper crafting. I build buildings out of paper. And this is basically the next step up from this is like $20,000 for doing that sort of thing. But what it'll do is you can print pictures you can print cardboard paper out that has reference marks, feed it into the thing, it'll go, oh, here's the mark. And you can cut out the thing that you printed on a laser printer or an inkjet printer and make pretty amazing stuff. I'm a super huge nerd, so I play a lot of RPGs. And that's basically like you can build things for that. So these things are, I would love to show you this, but I don't have the software for it installed on the virtual machine that's running on that box that's driving that thing. So I would love to, but I can't. I asked Evan to come because he's the guy that did all that magic with making these things work. But from that point on, let's head this way into the dungeon. All right. I will ask everyone to stay in the hallway. Not because I think you're crazy, but because I don't really know exactly the state of most things in here. So this is our nascent shop. We have a fellow by the name of Bill Hudson who lives right up the street, who is quite old. And Bill has lost his sight. And so he gave us these things, a lot of these things, because he wants to be part of the group, but he can't really do a whole lot. So, like, for any of you who actually know, a lot of this stuff costs $1 jillion if you buy it new. It's only slightly less expensive if you buy it used. And so this is sort of how we're running, is people bring in stuff, like I brought in, that's my table saw, and some of that stuff is mine. And we had a guy that just said, here, I have this rolling tool chest that has some tools in it, actually. We have a couple of shapers, and this has like routers and that sort of thing in it. But this is where we're going to be doing most of our woodwork. I believe if I can infect my will on other people that this wall will come down, which means we'll be able to turn around a 4x8 sheet of plywood, which is an extremely important thing to be able to do, no matter what you're doing. If you're building stuff, you got to be able to turn at least an 8-foot lip around somehow. So this is where I have actually built quite a few things in here. I typically, when you get to the other side, you'll see my room, and you'll laugh because my room looks a little bit like this, but except it's much more compact and packed full of the ceiling. But most of our mechanism is that we'll have some tools like these things will be available. And if you bring your tools, you can loan your tools, and we have rules around how tools get loaned. And then we also have rules about what happens with donations. We're a 501c3. We're actually going to be federally filing here in about, second week of February. So in about 30 days, we'll actually be a federal nonprofit. So I have donated much, like that's my TV sitting out there. And that's my Cameo, and all the room full of books, those are all my books. And so donations are a thing we're kind of working against right now, because we can't give somebody a federal tax credit until we've done our federal filing. So right now, everything that anybody donates is really not donated; it's loaned until such time as we can give them a real receipt, because as it is occasionally difficult to get people to understand who haven't filed taxes ever, donations only matter if you can give somebody a receipt. I mean, anybody will give you a candy bar. Not everybody will give you a lathe. And most of the people who give you a lathe are like, that's a $700 lathe. I'd like to at least get a receipt for about $400. And we're like, yes, you would. Okay. So we have stuff, and we have more stuff than this. We have some, the lathe actually has gear. All of these rooms are the old examining rooms, so take a look inside. It's hideous. We actually have our sewing machine is right there, but nobody uses it. Our metal brake is here, but I actually picked that up and put it in the back of my truck. So I know for a fact we don't have anything that will support that, so we actually can't do metal braking right now. But that's because the thing weighs like 400 pounds. And this is where we're working on most of our computing equipment. You can see that it's got a bunch of useless scrap in it. And note the caution sign. Back here, there is more stuff, but the floor is sketchy. When we first got started, these all came from my storage unit. I have a storage unit that I collect. I'm of the sort of person who doesn't throw things away. If you use the word hoarder around me, that's completely okay. But I donated all this stuff because I thought we might be able to build something out of it. And that was a pretty good idea. Until more dangerous stuff back there. Until the McLean Center thought we should have some computers. So you're welcome to come in here and take a look at this. Yep, that's the correct phrase. So they gave us some old hardware. Oh, wow. Yeah. Basically, it's this high, and it goes all the way to that wall, and it's stacked computers. And the really amusing part of all this is this seems like a great boon for doing software, hardware, teaching kind of stuff. None of these machines have RAM. So if you happen to have old RAM lying around, I will totally take it off your hands. But it is they actually did forget to take the RAM out of some of them. But take a look in there. Let's see. This is my friend Kurt's room. This is actually a private room where people pay. This is our kitchen. We have basically all the things necessary for doing eating. Eating and eating-like things, like refrigerants and hot plates and that sort of deal. We have working toilets, which is really important. The rest of these, pardon? Yes, they were here. These are, yeah. This is my room, so it's a little messy at the moment, but that's because I'm basically in the process of completely moving in. We actually have in this room. Let's see here. This is a long-arm sewing machine, which is very important if you want to make big sewing projects work. This is on loan from Disco next door because the owner joined the group. And we have a library of really crappy old technical books that are, in the process of being cycled away. We have network printers, blah, blah, blah. Somebody gave us a copier. I don't know why, but, people who want copiers get copiers.
I know you from the coffee shop, or your face looks very familiar.
No, I've been hanging around with this guy.
That's the full run of the space. And as time goes by, what we expect is that these rooms that are all, like the room that has all my crap in it, the rooms that are rented to humans will be kicked out of them, and we'll make those rooms more group friendly rather than individual storage space. That room is basically an 8x12 storage unit for me to a certain degree. It's got working space in it, but that's really been hard to build, as you might have seen when you walk through. Other people have less problem with that because they have less crap. We have built, so far, we built a quadcopter out of PVC and purloined, I think, motors. We've done, we have a guy who's actually doing a project right now for, he wants to do an autonomous glider that comes home after being released from a weather balloon at 100,000 feet. Now, Yeah, I mean, it's pretty, they're actually working. In fact, you can stay right here, and I think it's still here. I think the actual here is-
To rent for women. I can show you the sweater I'm working on. I only have the sleeve. What did she say about some quad? It's a quadcopter. It's a helicopter with.
Flying wing, eh?
Yeah, so this is their current working prototype. And this actually flies. They've flown this particular thing a couple of times, I think at Railroad Park. But something slightly cooler than this is what they're planning on releasing from the balloon that Russell has apparently already purchased. So I'm not 100% sure about this whole.
It's a little drone.
Mm-hmm.
But I can show you the actual results of the quadcopter build.
Oh, nice.
It looks like ass, doesn't it?
Hey,
So you know what?
That's fantastic.
This thing will fly if you had, power and other important stuff. It flew as recently as last fall, and I think that everybody. So the guy that's mostly heading this project is a biomed student at UAB. He's in his PhD. He's in like his final parts of his PhD. It's a little hard to get time out of him, but this is sort of what we do. And if you like this sort of thing, I have lots of parts. I don't have lots of parts. I have parts, and I have and we have open nights and we have closed nights. So anybody that doesn't get a card, if you happen to want one, just come grab it. I will find a card for you. But this is what we do. We work in a subscription model. So basically, there's a couple of levels of buy-in. For $20 a month, you can basically come in when the doors are open. For $35 a month, you can be voted in to actually have a key where you can open the door, and those rooms are $100 a month. And that's kind of how we're working our paying our bills right now. And it's doing okay. But we need about 5 times as many people here, mostly because in the course of doing a makerspace, just like any other group event, the number of people who are actively, heavily engaged is a small percentage of the number of humans who are involved. And what we want is we want a much bigger pool, so we have a much bigger, smaller percentage, but we also want more, we want more groupthink that gets those people who are just kind of hanging out, coming and seeing, look how cool it is, to actually engage in the things that they love to do. So one of the things that I want to do, or that I think I want to do, is in that room in the back, next to Kurt's room, the one that says open right here, I actually want to do, I want to put an HVAC unit in there and do beer. I want to make that a beer room, and then we would rent, what we would do is we would build a lattice for putting your growlers or whatever you're going to do it in, and we would basically just rent you a slot for 2 months to make your beer for $10 or whatever, and you just do your deed. And we have everything except hot water. That's a thing we're missing right now. But we're also missing HVAC, so my story is a little bit of bullshit. But once we've gotten our environmental issues and our hot water problems taken care of, that's kind of the thing we want to do. That's really where we want to go. Is we want to do what other people want to do. What I want to do, I make paper models, and I like the 3D printer, and I like to do circuits. I'm teaching a class. One of the first educational events we're having is we're going to do this thing called Circuits to Robots that'll last about 9 months. And it'll be like 5 or 6 classes along the way where we teach you about discrete electronics and microcontrollers and software engineering. And in the end, the culmination will be that people can build a robot that they can, if they pay for it, they can take it, or if they just want to make it part of the group, it'll just be something that runs around the room. And so that's our initiative is all about education and collaboration. This is not a place where if you need to route a seam down a 2x4, well, we can do that. You come ask somebody and they'll probably do that for you. That's just what you need. But what we really want is we want people who want to want stuff. And we want people to take agency over their things. We want people to understand that the stuff that you own is stuff that you own, not that other people own with you. And that if the battery dies in your iPhone, so I have tools in my room for cracking one of those things open and replacing all the parts. It's just a matter of replacing the parts. Whether you want to do that or not is a completely different question. I don't change the oil in my car, but I know how. So knowing how to have agency over your things gives you an enormous amount of power in the current world. Not having agency over your things means that other people control you in a way that most people find reprehensible, or at least, kind of, I don't like it. So that's what our entire mission is to get that and to get the next generation of people to stop thinking like other people control their lives. So, yes?
Hey, speaking of next generation, do you do summer camps or stuff with kids, or do you have any plans for that?
We haven't had a summer camp because we haven't had summer yet.
Right. Okay.
Our last summer was actually this, and that was pretty fun, but it was at Dave's house. So this is, we opened the doors here, I think, in November. And then I threw a little party in January that was kind of a beta close. We didn't really promote it very much because it wasn't really great. But the party was awesome.
Your question is not last summer, but
hopefully this summer or later.
Is get involved, and that's one of the reasons we were having dinner, not just because it was delicious, was that we do want to get involved in the community. We are, it's an educational group, and so we want to work with the schools and get kids involved, get neighborhood groups and church groups, and anyone who wants to learn to do this stuff. And it could be, 9-year-olds who want to get involved in programming or working with circuits or robots, or it could be 40-years-olds who want to learn to sew because we're going to have a fiber room. That guy, he wants to learn. 47. Or you're 65 years old and you never really learned to swing a hammer, and that's
right. How many people in here have called someone to install a ceiling fan for them? So, in a lot of cases, that's not really, you don't have to answer that question. But I have a former brother-in-law who is a mechanical engineer and a very competent human being who looked at the box and immediately picked up the phone and called my dad. And my dad's like, your brother-in-law just called me to install a ceiling fan. I'm like, is he afraid of ladders? Because I'm afraid of ladders. But is he afraid of ladders? And he's like, no, not afraid of ladders. Just doesn't know how to do it. And I'm like, there's 4 wires, I think, 5 if you've got a really fancy ceiling fan. And that sort of thing, that whole inability to grasp the stuff that some people find very simple, practically nothing in the world that isn't rocket science is rocket science. And like the 3D printer over here, these things are not a thing that most people would immediately say, I could make that. But they are, because it's basically a glue gun on a CNC machine. It's just a way for you to translate what you want and the things that you love and the ideas that you want to make real into reality. And that's our whole mission. Ultimately, Make Birmingham, who, as I said, loaned us that 3D printer so that we could, figure out why it was so amazingly hard to deal with, which it is. They're a for-profit version of this. Their job is to give people space and rooms and collaborative, moments and that sort of stuff. And we're hoping that our 2 groups can actually make Birmingham a much more impressive place for people. Has anybody ever said, I want to move to Birmingham because it's the technical mecca of the Southeast? No.
Not yet.
Why do people come to Birmingham? Why would anybody move to Birmingham that doesn't have family or friends here? With the only reason, for a job. They work at UAB. Everybody who involuntarily comes to Birmingham pretty much says when they go, where can I go to med school? Where can I be a doctor? I think we have more doctors per capita than any other major city in the world. And yeah, I think so. I think that someone at UAB told me that. Medical doctors per capita. We have huge numbers of hospitals. But these things are, like, this is a reason to come to Birmingham. If you don't have a makerspace, you don't have a real city. Where are you headed? You can't go out that way. Huh? No. You gotta go out. You gotta go that way. And it's okay. You can walk in front of me. I'm not employing anything. There's no way to go out that way. Hi, Michelle. Michael.
I'm trying to not make respect to myself.
Thanks
See you
for
later.
being my shop. Thanks for coming down and listening to me ramble. Sure.